Hi Cancer, this is your August 2024 reading. We spoke about the new moon in Cancer and the full moon in Capricorn last month being really important for your sign because it gave you this kind of nudge gently, or even in a little bit more of a dramatic fashion, towards what your goals and mission statement is at the moment. It might have even felt like July was pushing you closer to your purpose or your destiny. Maybe now that the sun has just left your sign, Cancer, you're feeling revitalized because July was likely quite busy. As well as that, there is this kind of energy around remembering to stay present with the blessings that you're experiencing at the moment. August might be a time to reflect on how far you've come and just really sink into the good things that are happening for you at this time. In the reverse, Eight of Wands with the Page of Pentacles and our first major arcana card, the Star card. The World, another major, the Three of Swords, the Queen of Rods, the Four of Cups, the High Priestess, the Queen of Swords, and to end the reading, another wand card in reverse, the Ten of Wands. So yes, you are incredibly tired, I will say that. I will say that, you know, you're possibly feeling like that body kind of fatigue, that body tiredness. If you're not fully in alignment with your passion at this time, it's obviously never too late to sort of re-examine the path that you're on, but the feeling of being aligned with a passion or a purpose or a mission at this time will probably alleviate certain feelings of burnout for many of you, okay? Okay, so let me get into this. The Three of Swords of the recent past, this is kind of painful. It came through in the extended reading of your Cancer July 2024 reading. So I did your reading here on YouTube for July 2024, but I did an extended version on my Patreon, and the Three of Swords was the last card that I pulled for that extended, and which to me, and actually, I believe it might have come up in your YouTube version as the last card, which to me, it's interesting to see this now as the past position, telling me that, you know, you're coming out of this kind of hurt space or like kind of wounded, sort of painful sort of realization phase. And you know, some of you have moved, some of you have had to let go, some of you have had to grieve a bigger loss in your world too. And the Three of Swords in the past position is telling me that recently this hurt has been a catalyst for growth, however, and that might sound a little bit insensitive to some of you watching, but the hurts of the past are actually here to propel you forward, even if that doesn't fully look like it makes sense at this time. The Eight of Wands, as you watch this reading, the energy for the present seems to be a little bit confusing or mismatched. Some of you don't fully feel like you're in harmony yet with what you're working on and what you're doing. It seems like for a few of you, there is still like a lot of pieces of the puzzle that haven't quite fully fit in yet. We do have a Mercury retrograde for most of August. This Eight of Wands upright speaks to communication, sales, commerce. It speaks to travel. It speaks to anything mercurial, I suppose, wheeling and dealing and trading and marketing and exploration like that. In the reversal, this could speak to the Mercury retrograde itself, kind of putting a bit of a confusing spin on everything that you seem to be trying to initiate at the beginning of the month. That does last for the bulk of the month, but the highest self coming through with the Four of Cups here is saying that you're actually meant to be trying to find emotional stability this month. In your July reading, we spoke a lot about the loss of support, loss of camaraderie that you were experiencing. Now the Four of Cups is here in the advice position almost to say something like, try to sit with this, Cancer. You can't rush through this process of loss or grieving. The Four of Cups is saying that, you know, you're kind of like, I think that this might have even come up in your reading too. We spoke about a funk, we spoke about a kind of an overall mood that had been kind of sweeping over you. And we did see the High Priestess too, funnily enough. We spoke to this being just like an overall intuition or inner knowing that you had about how people are behaving or how they're showing up. You kind of understand that there's something not quite connecting. You kind of understand that people around you seem to be quite withdrawn for whatever reason, or not really keeping in touch, or not really like present with you. The High Priestess is in your environment position, and quite often the High Priestess speaks to, I guess, privacy and sort of secrecy. I believe this was the first card that came through for you last month, and it is nice to see it here again, continuing the message of trusting in your intuition. And I think I might have said this already, but let me rephrase and say this again. You know always when there's something a little bit off. That's one of your skills, but you don't always know what exactly it is. To me now this month, it actually is developing into people revealing themselves a lot more to you, people opening up to you, and you starting to at least see why the way you start to understand why people were acting the way they're acting. And there is something that had been concealed. Take this little scroll here of secrets, and the High Priestess kind of guarding it. In the environment, it tells me that secrets are kind of coming to light this month, or there is a revelation or an understanding around why everything was so hush-hush, or why everything was so private. Privacy has been a theme for you lately, and it continues to be for August. Now, some of you are waiting very much just on correspondence or an email back or word to get going ahead on something, and it seems to be really difficult just to get everybody on the same page this month, at the beginning of the month at least. The Queens are beautiful energies to see coming through, a lot of self-mastery and inner work and thriving energy for you. But before we get to that, let's just talk about the present energy. It's hard to get everyone on the same page. It's hard to get everybody committed, or even to plan something where everyone is in attendance, everyone's getting back to you. The Page of Pentacles tells me that very soon this is about to get resolved for you. So probably by around the middle of August, when we get that Sun and Mercury Cazimi, which will be the Sun conjoining Mercury retrograde, then you're going to be kind of finding that everyone gets on the same page a little bit more, or things start to make a little bit more sense overall. The Page of Pentacles tells me you're waiting on a response. You're waiting to hear from somebody. You want to speak to somebody perhaps, but you're waiting on the right time. The time does come for you, and when it does, it feels really like such a relief. If there's anything like boundaries, Queen of Swords here in your hopes, if there is a boundary, if there is some sort of an implementation of a rule or something that would make you feel more comfortable, or something you need to get off your chest and you hope to do that, the relief that comes with having that conversation is going to really feel very good, okay? The Star card and the Ten of Wands in the reversal. There's two ways that you could take this, Cancer, okay? You could do the hard work, the painful work of having a difficult conversation with somebody, being upfront, direct and honest, with the result of you feeling very relieved afterwards. Let me take a moment just to say, if this reading resonates with you, I will be pulling further 10 more cards for the extended part of this reading, which will be linked down below. So that's where you'll find the extended version. Will be going even deeper with these messages, and I just want to put that out there. So one way you could go with this is, having the difficult conversation, but feeling the relief. And not only feeling relief, the Star card is major arcana, so it's soul growth. It will be a leap of faith to do this for yourself. It will be also very restorative and relieving and replenishing to get this off your chest and to do the hard work first by nipping something in the bud without it prolonging and becoming resentful or full of resentment. The Ten of Wands in the reversal, it's possible burnout, it's even exploitation, and it's kind of like being pushed way past reasonable limits. Because it is here in the outcome position, there is a likelihood that many of you will continue to procrastinate on this issue and not be direct and upfront until the point of you feeling burned out or you feeling resentful and having been taken advantage of. So So just watch out for that. Now, the Ten of Wands could also just suggest that this month you just have so much on your plate, but many of you are feeling so aligned with your purpose. You're feeling so full of life and vitality and feeling really like now is the time to just kind of make hay while the sun shines and while you're having so much success, recognition, visibility, and even like a lot of magnetism. People are being pulled towards you, so why not make the most of this, a lot of you are saying. In that case, the Ten of Wands probably will only feel like maybe I should have delegated one of these wands to somebody else, or maybe I shouldn't have taken on quite as much. But at the same time, the Ten of Wands in the reversal can actually be really healthy when we're aligned to our purpose, and this is just a season or phase of life where we're going to be working pretty hard and we're kind of going to be taking on quite a lot, and it can be quite physical, but it can be demanding too, but it doesn't feel as exhausting as it would if this wasn't something where your heart was in alignment with. I just want to peek into the my baby is sleeping right here. Fast asleep, fantastic. Just make sure that you are getting a kind of balance right in terms of your rest this month as well, Cancer. I know July was probably a lot to do with how it feels to take a dip into your emotions and inner world during Cancer season. Now that the sun has moved into Leo just this week, you are kind of feeling like being very present with your successes. Another Leo card at the bottom of the deck, the Six of Wands, just increased popularity around you, visibility and attraction, working with the laws of attraction and other universal laws like that, like creativity principles and things like that, where you really just do figure yourself as this like manifester, this agent of change and attraction, and really being surrounded with people who are on a similar wavelength or mindset, basically finding yourself around motivational people, and in turn you being very inspirational and motivating to others this month. I see that coming up with the Queen of Rods. Now, the other thing that could happen to some of you is you've been dealing with something painful. We saw it come up in the July reading too, where you've been wondering why people have been withdrawn or not showing support, not really rallying. You've been wondering why there is this distance. I'm going to put it to you like this, Cancer. The High Priestess, rather, in your environment now is representing a mirror. In what ways do you hold back? In what ways don't you try to connect? This is only a mirror. Your reality is only a mirror to your internal dial right now, this High Priestess suggests. It's also deeply intuitive, so I think you might know where this potentially is. It's kind of difficult for others to read you at times, Cancer, and then it's frustrating for you when you can't see other people clearly at the same time, but you're not showing much either, so it's probably just a mirror, if that makes sense. There was something else I was picking up on then. Yeah, of course, like, you know, these hurts and sensitivities are real and valid, but if they're left unsaid, High Priestess, people are trying to understand you, environment card of the High Priestess, but also not everybody is a mind reader. Fortunately, there are people in your environment who understand you almost telepathically or without really having you to tell much to them, but just try to bear in mind that not everybody does, and sometimes, Queen of Rods, the direct approach can be very empowering for you. Basically, whatever kind of information, sale, contract you're trying to get to grips with at the moment, and it's just very like slippery. It seems like it's falling out of your hands, or it's just really hard for you to kind of get it in writing maybe, and it's difficult for somebody to commit to a plan, and especially if it involves travels or sales or any sort of commercial contract or dealing like that. It's just seems to be a very typical Mercury retrograde experience on that. The good news is you very quickly get at least verbal confirmation. Is it as good as having it in writing? Possibly not for you this month, but the handshake kind of works for you. It's a relief. Now, some of you quite quickly, Page of Pentacles speaks to information and data and communication, so you might actually get it in writing too, which would be even better for you. But just take your time reading the fine print at the moment, because if you're like me, I don't really look at terms and conditions, and there might just be something you miss. For those of you that are dealing with something that's quite important or possibly consequential in terms of contracts and things like that, Queen of Swords, get a professional to look over it. Doesn't have to be a lawyer, but even just a second pair of eyes, and somebody that's quite good at like the analytics. You know, I'm thinking like people that have a good attention to detail here at the moment as well could be coming through. So we haven't touched on a really important card here yet, which is the World card coming through in your subconscious, right? If the Star card is the major arcana in your conscious mind, healing, growth, restoration, and sort of optimism restored, especially after any more painful last 3 weeks or 3 months that you've had. The World card in the subconscious is here to say, like, this ain't your first rodeo, Cancer. Whether you believe in alternate lives, past lives, let's say this ain't your first rodeo. You've dealt with karmic patterns like this before. If that's not your vibe, this could be another situation, or it could be both. You've dealt with patterns like this already in your world. Was it when you were a teenager? Was it when you were growing up, or when you were a little bit younger in college? Whatever phase of life you're in now, it was at a certain era of your world where this shit used to happen quite a lot, or quite like you just became very accustomed to being treated in such a way, or you became like very accustomed to having this feeling, not a chip on your shoulder necessarily, but almost like this kind of expectation of worst case scenario. And then you worked on that, you know, there was a lot of healing around that, and that's obviously showing with all this kind of like success and publicity and visibility around you now, and warmth and attraction towards you. But you feel like, you know, every now and then you could slip into old patterns and habits. The World is here to kind of remind you that you're actually past a lot of that now, if not fully past that now. The World card, it's Saturnian, okay? On the 21st of July, we had that full moon in Capricorn. We talked a lot about that in your July reading, because Capricorn is your opposite sign, so you were going to feel that one a little more than other signs. But that was a Saturn ruled full moon, and full moons are about closure. The World card is the final card of the deck. Saturn the World, Saturn the full moon in Capricorn. It's about a graduation, or a passing of a test, or an end of an era. Not only that, the full moon in Capricorn on the 21st of July was at 29 degrees of Capricorn. That's the final degree of Capricorn. So it definitely represented closure, the end of a karmic cycle. And this could have come up for you around Saturnian things like father, men in your life, karma, sort of passing tests, trials and tribulations, themes of endurance and heavy lifting and hardship. Could have been coming up around health issues or personal energy levels too. There are just a couple of things that there could have been a real sense of closure or overcoming around recently. So something has happened recently in your world when there's been this shift, whether or not it was around the 21st of July with that full moon or not. This World card in your subconscious is basically here to say, we've closed that karmic cycle now, Cancer. We won't be repeating that in this lifetime again. So that's very, very exciting to have reached the threshold, overcome, and now basically closed down a period of karmic heaviness, or conditioning, or a repeating of a cycle or pattern in your life. Congratulations, it's certainly no easy feat. And because the subconscious mind is already aware of that, it might be just taking you some time to catch up with that consciously and realize that you don't resonate with that timeline anymore. You don't resonate with that version of yourself anymore, or that habit, or that pattern, or that place. And that's where the Star card now, you probably do feel more optimistic. You probably do have a more light mindset at the moment. And where that's coming from is actually a much deeper subconscious awareness that you've actually closed out a karmic cycle lately. I can't wait to get into that in the extended. That's my wheelhouse, you know, karmic astrology, evolutionary astrology. That is my jam. So I'm excited for that. Queen of Rods, of course, you know, the August is just going to continue to be make hay while the sun shines, increased visibility, personal magneticism, personal power, and feeling very attractive actually. The Queen of Rods just speaks to a kind of optimism or happiness or passion that's now kind of emerging within you more and more. You're coming back to life. Some of you're coming back into the fold after a period of a little bit more inner work and looking at the hurts and the wounds within yourself. August seems to be a bit more present, like I said, and just overall enjoyable. I know you might not feel this necessarily at the very beginning of the month, where the first week seems a little confusing or hard to get everybody together, or just hard to understand overall. Give it some time, let Leo season just kind of like get going. Venus and Mercury, well, Venus is in Leo, but basically Mercury retrograde will be in Leo too. So the Sun and Venus and Leo together will be really nice. Let me just see who's awake here. 1 second. Hello, baby Shay. Hello. Hello, baby Shay. Are you gonna join the reading? Are you gonna join the reading? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. We've got a little guest of honor here. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what I will say is, I'll be able to get comfy now. Bear with me, you guys. Okay, so what I will say then is the Four of Cups. You know, the highest self is saying, like, it's okay to be bummed out sometimes, Cancer. It's okay to feel bored. It's okay to feel like non-productive, and it's certainly okay to feel sad. Okay, like, this is not a permanent state of affairs. We spoke about the kind of emotions versus feeling in your July reading. I'll link that below too. You should check it out. Oh my goodness, I forgot to say, by the way, Cancer, I have done a 6-month overview for your sign. You're the only sign I've done this for so far, so I'll link that below too. Basically, if you want to look at what the next 6 months look like for you from August of this year to January 2025, I did that last week and it was fantastic, and it's the first time I've ever done something like that, so I'm so happy that it was your sign that I got to start with. So I'll link that below too, but I just feel like this is all relevant. Okay, the High Priestess, we spoke about this being, you know, revelations coming through, people in your environment revealing more about themselves, but also that people are expecting more of your vulnerability, for you to open up, for you to wear your heart on your sleeve potentially, because if you have that expectation of others, well, you know, you might be able to show something of yourself more and kind of lead more by example. Queen of Rods, you're clearly a very savvy leader and you clearly know what you're doing, so don't pretend you don't. Does that make sense? Queen of Swords, I feel like there is somebody you need to kind of have an addressing conversation with. You see the situation clearly from your perspective. Now just remember that just because you see a situation clearly from your perspective doesn't mean it's right necessarily. It just might mean that you understand how you feel and you've thought things through and you've reached clarity on where you stand on things or where you're at on things. That's good enough. That's more than enough. Not everyone has to agree with you, or not everybody is going to completely not have their own sort of part to say about this, or something to say or add to this. So just know that it's enough to know where you're at on things and you can still speak to that. And that's basically what the Queen of Swords is saying to me. 10 of Wands in reversal. We'll elaborate on all of this in the extended, of course, but if this is all you're sticking around for, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your patience, and thank you If you like, share, comment, subscribe, I would love to hear from you, and it's always a great way to show support. If you're going to the extended, it'll be linked below. But just, if this is the last message you hear from me today, the 10 of Wands in reversal. When you're aligned to your passion, you won't feel like this is such a burnout. When you are working hard and on a mission or a goal, then you're going to just feel like it's hard work, but I'm able for it, okay? But if there is something that's been really weighing you down, and I mean really, really getting on top of you at this point, the 10 of Wands is a message to seek some wise counsel, to seek some help, to ask for assistance, and to ask somebody to help you alleviate some of this burden, or quite simply put, you're a manager and you need to start delegating a little bit better. Okay, Cancer, that's going to be your August 2024. I'll talk to you real soon.